an old friend to Media Monarchy. So for the remaining time, we're going to blast through as much as we can that remains on Media Monarchy, as well as our sister sites. So we'll begin again with geopolitics. United States of Eurasia, plus a little collateral damage. Newsweek pushing covert war in Iran, assassinations, cyber attacks, and sabotage. I got this from a site called Flash Traffic Blog. And they cover many stories related to the Middle East. There seems to be an Israeli bent to it, but it's fascinating. There's a story about Israel discovering another 16 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, which has many asking the question, is this biblical prophecy or just political geology? Meanwhile, Russian head Medvedev canceled his trip to Israel. Meanwhile, he's planning instead a trip to visit Palestinian areas. All three of those stories go to flashtrafficblog.wordpress.com. An excellent piece from Kenny Sideshow about big sis Janet Napolitano in Israel, which we mentioned just a few minutes ago, on Message. Meanwhile, China preparing for armed conflict in every direction. More on that from the Telegraph. Washington Post reports on the Pakistani shock by the assassination of a popular governor. And on a lighter note, from Danger Room, a belated Happy New Year from Russia's sexiest spy, appearing on some type of Russian SNL type show. Meanwhile, from 247wallstreet.com, American cities that are running out of people. The population of the United States has increased steadily by roughly 2.5 million people every year since World War II. Throughout prosperity and hard times, Americans continue to have families. Many of the country's regions have expanded to accommodate this population increase. Meanwhile, some cities have grown faster than others as the result of being at the center of some important new technology or job market. Others have lost residents, as we will see, and we'll break down this list of, I believe, 6 or 7 main cities that are losing residents. Others have lost residents because of failing industries and migration. And can you guess what's on the list? You probably have a good idea of what's number one with the bullet. The winners/losers: Rochester, New York; Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania; Dayton, Ohio; Buffalo, New York; Cleveland, Ohio; Flint, Michigan; and of course, number one, New Orleans, Louisiana. With the exception of Louisiana, the rest of those are all in the Rust Belt. Places that used to thrive on American industry, to not even get into a discussion of cars and any of that. But we used to make things here. We used to make things other people around the world wanted. Whether that was TVs or cars. Again, not to debate the evils of both of those things. But now we've mentioned television, and we get this from the New York Times. Americans watched more television than ever in 2010, and I add that as America falls down, TV viewing continues to edge up. Historians may someday note with wonder that by the end of 2010, at least 6 cable TV shows were about auctioneers and pawnbrokers. What does that say about us? And they're all considered successes by their respective channels. Countless shows were about cops and robbers too, and countless hours were devoted to competitive singing, dancing, and even figure skating, and they each found an audience, proving again that television remains a refuge in the media revolution. Americans watched more television than ever in 2010, according to the Nielsen Company. Total viewing of broadcast and basic channels rose about 1% for the year to an average of 34 hours per person per week. The generation-long shift to cable from broadcast continued, but subtly, as the smallest of the big four broadcast networks, NBC, still retained more than twice as many viewers as the largest basic cable channel, USA. Cable hits like Jersey Shore on MTV and The Walking Dead on AMC were showered with media attention and affection, but the most popular new show was CBS's Hawaii Five-0. That's right, the 40-year-old show. Bum, 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 bum. Let's switch now, my friends, to cyberspacewar.com with a story that started to get a good bit of coverage. And again, thanks to all the folks who share links, comment, tweet, any of those things in this realm of tools that we have in the tubes, which is not to belittle the fact that we're going through a Gutenberg-like revolution. But we have stories like this, and I believe we're going to get into some of these discussions about technology, and not the inherent evils of technology, but what happens when these things are in the wrong hands. Goldman Sachs investing in Facebook at a $50 billion valuation. New York Times asking the question, fortunately, why are taxpayers subsidizing Facebook and the next bubble? We want to call it the social network bubble. Goldman Sachs has reached out to its wealthy private clients, offering them a chance to invest in Facebook, the hot social networking giant, a possible public offering in 2012. I'll spare you all the other gory bankster details, but we, of course, always want to mention, when we mention Facebook, we want to mention InQtel, the investment arm of the CIA that helped get Facebook going. Just one of them. I'm not trying to be grandiose and say the CIA started Facebook, but follow the money. William Engdahl has a great piece on WikiLeaks, a big, dangerous U.S. government con job, as we stand bracing for the Bank of America leaks to come very soon, and God knows what that could lead us to. But a quick blast down the January 6th DEFCON on cyberspacewar.com. Bad calls and fake claims. Warrantless cell phone search gets the green light in California. VoIP decision means Skype now illegal in Shanghai. First solar eclipse of the year was January 4th. The quadranted meteor shower was the same time. Meanwhile, Judith Miller, the reporter behind the WMD claims in the New York Times and the lies in the run-up to the wars, calls the kettle black, calls Julian Assange a bad journalist. Our last DEFCON note is the fake White House holiday email is a cyber attack, in case you got sent that. A story about the Battle of Los Angeles, which goes back to February 25th of 1942, an interesting story in Omaha. So many interesting stories from the past, which hope and help shed light on what's in the present and the future. And isn't there a movie coming out called The Battle of Los Angeles very soon? We have transient lunar phenomena, and we have computers that see you and keep watch over you. Returning again to the New York Times, when computers keep watch. Hundreds of correctional officers from prisons across America descended last spring on a shuttered penitentiary in West Virginia for annual training exercises, my home state of West Virginia, becoming a leader in the field of police state biometric technology. Some officers play the role of prisoners, acting like gang members and stirring up trouble, including a mock riot. The latest in prison gear got a workout: body armor, shields, riot helmets, smoke bombs, gas masks, and at this year's drill, computers that could see the action. Perched above the prison yard, 5 cameras tracked the play-acting prisoners, and AI software analyzed the images to recognize faces, gestures, and patterns of group behavior. Now, we blast down through the whole story where we mention all of the tie-ins and connect with Microsoft and the interface between man and machine. So just imagine all the things that are discussed in this article. When computers keep watch, and I'll give you the last paragraph, which is a quote from Eric Schmidt, chief executive of Google. Quote, "It was just too sensitive and we didn't want to go there. You want to avoid enabling stalker behavior."